Oh yes, it's the fresh edition of the program. It's the first in the week. You are welcome. My name is Banji Busari. Jumake will be joining us maybe on Wednesday. You are welcome. Yesterday was the fourth year that President Muhammadu Buhari, in his wisdom during his administration, changed the Democracy Day celebrations from May 29 to June 12. And in his speech yesterday, emotion-laden speech, he was saying that this is going to be his last speech, last Democracy Day speech during his two term. That's this is the 7th year, and he's already in the 8th year already. And he said so much about putting in place democratic structures to ensure that democracy stays with us permanently and is permanently enthroned. We wish him the very, very, very best. Today on the program, we're actually looking at the 4th year of June 12th, marking June 12th on the real day that the struggle was actually conveyed. Joining me on this edition of the program are two gentlemen, very well known, very articulate, and I will rely on them when we're discussing very, very topical issues. From my right, I start with Mr. Bola Oba, Public Affairs Analyst. You are welcome.
Thank you very much for the opportunity to be on your side.
And on my left here, convener June 12th movement, Honorable Olawale Okuniyi. You are welcome to this program.
My pleasure to be with
you. June 12th, exactly 29 years ago, Nigerians went to the polls and they elected a leader, an election that has been adjudged globally as a watershed. That's an election where Nigerians put aside ethnic, religious, and all forms of considerations to pick their leader. That's 29 years ago, June 12, 1993. An election that produced the acclaimed winner of that election, that's MKO Abiola of blessed memory. In recognition of his efforts and then to further install democracy, President Muhammadu Buhari recognized that day 4 years ago, 2018, and then pronounced June 12th as the real day when June 12th elections will be celebrated. And here we're celebrating the 4th year of that June 12th. That's marking June 12th on the real June 12th date. Yes, that's our program today. We'll also be looking at the Ekiti elections. Don't forget that this Saturday, the people of Ekiti will be going to the polls to elect the next governor of the state. Governor Fayemi will be winding up in October. The election preceding that stepping down will actually happen this Saturday. And Ekiti people are actually in frenzied mood, getting ready to pick their leader come Saturday, June 18. That's going to be on the lineup today. And my gentlemen here will also be dissecting the issues. Yesterday I watched the debate amongst the candidates, and it's a very lovely one. Issue-based campaigns, and I believe that that should actually replicate itself in all the states of the Federation. That's going to be our lineup today. Let me start with Mr. Bola over here. Yesterday was June 12th, but the holiday was actually shifted to today, being a working day. Yesterday was a weekend. Now, apart from the speeches to start with, we haven't really seen the real, from the government, we haven't really seen those, the real celebrations of June 12th itself. Why do you think this one is a low-key one? That's apart from the speeches.
I wouldn't know what you mean by low-key, because to be honest with you, June 12th is, apart from the maiden episode of it, it's not usually celebrated in the way that 1st of October is celebrated. It is a landmark, political, emotional day for Nigerians. And you must remember that it took a while before the fourth administration of the fourth democratic dispensation in Nigeria yielded to pressures from the grassroots, actually, for a long while they were in denial. A prominent Yoruba man who ordinarily, as President of the Federal Republic, ought to, who was indeed a beneficiary of that tragedy, refused to oblige the agitations of Democrats. Yar'Adua didn't quite live too much in office, so God bless his soul. Jonathan, for whatever it was worth, did not have the spine to do it. And I guess when it was somewhat designed to be an asset for his re-election, President Muhammadu Buhari also eventually yielded to the agitation. So I'm sitting there thinking, for whatever is worth, given the epochal importance of June 12 in the political history of Nigeria, especially contemporary, because 30 years in the life of a nation is still contemporary. I would suppose, as an entrepreneur, the idea of flippant holiday sometimes chokes me. But you know what is worth doing is worth doing well.
All right. I know that in the past, that's before the recognition of June 12th, talking about your efforts, you were there that's following the annulment of June 12 elections, 1993. You were part of the people that actually inspired the agitation for the recognition, for the reinstatement of, to start with, of MK Abiola. Then, following his death, you have continually, year in, year out, agitated for recognition of that mandate. Yesterday, can you actually give us an overview of what happened? Or have we gone to sleep, haven't achieved the recognition by this administration? I mean, your team, the pro-democracy groups, of which you are one.
Oh, thank you. Well, we did all we did out of conviction. Out of conviction and out of ideological belief that that was the best to do, to ask for the de-annulment of the election, to also ask for the restoration of the mandate freely given to MK Abiola. And we organized around those beliefs. We organized the Nigerian peoples under the banner of CD, Campaign for Democracy, and NADECO. And again, Nalikon, led by Professor Olishoka. We did all this based on conviction, and we eventually forced the military out under Abacha. Well, Abacha died, but one thing that I'm not happy about is the manipulated, circumvented transition that gave us a military decree as constitution for the country. And that has led us to where we are, this sorry state of experience in the country. Yesterday we met again and reset agenda for a people's republic via a popular constitution that can be held by the Nigerian people. Speakers after speakers, including the presidential candidate of the Third Force movement that is agitating for a new people's constitution, you know, and the labor movement, leaders of labor movement, etc. The Third Force, so to say, Peter Obi was also around, and so on and so forth. And leaders of the movement, even at that time, were present. Professor Pat Toby, Mike Ozekomensi, Shehu Sani, all of us. So the thing for us is that we are not still happy with the state of democracy.
Even with the recognition of June 12, you believe that there could be much more that this government could have done?
Oh, definitely.
Such as, can you give us an insight into
Definitely,
what other
yes,
things you are
recognition
getting?
is okay on the day. It only helps us to do more. It's not an end in itself. So the end in itself is for democracy to take root. What you have today is the rule of cartels and cabal everywhere. The Nigerian constitution is not such that the people can say it's their own. It's not even helping anybody. It allows for corruption, cartel, cabal to ride roughshod over the people. So we have to change that. We have to create an environment where the people can own their country and where there can be unity, so that we can also make insecurity a thing of the past. Because the alibi for insecurity is such that we are not united based on the system that we run. The system where you can come and sit, run the country with your clique. You have clique democracy. Or people call it civil rule, but you don't have democracy. Even now, the classical definition of democracy, constitutional democracy, because democracy takes its root from the constitution or from the convention of the people. Now let me now talk. Democracy can only take its root from the constitutional agreement of the people, or what you convention of the people. I say, this is what we want, not a foisted military decree by Abdusalami Abubakar regime in 1998, which reduces, governance to the hands of cartel and clique. So therefore, we can't be happy, because we know that what you run today is prepender politics, is for the rich and of the rich by the rich. A delegate issue in APC and PDP is something to worry about. It's to tell you that the highest bidder we run the country. The money bags, the deep pockets, we run the country. Therefore, it's so sorry. It means that ordinary Nigerians are excluded from governance. And that is why we are trying to, bring up a thought force that's reflected in the Labour Party being led by, who has a candidate in Mr. Peter Obi at the moment.
All right, even though that's not our focus today, we'll talk about the candidates in another edition. We're actually looking at democracy itself. Now, inclusiveness is said to be a very key component, a critical factor in democracy. A lot of people have said, just as he has also said here, that what we are celebrating as 29 years of democracy is not actually, 22 years of uninterrupted democracy. It's not really democracy that we're actually celebrating civil rule. Now, what's your opinion about inclusiveness? Do you think we have, you said a lot of people are excluded. Do you think we are running an inclusive or exclusive government since 1999?
Liberal democracy is characterized anywhere in the world with many shortfalls. Many shortfalls. I'm sitting here now as somebody who practiced politics, was involved in politics as a candidate of a major party in the UK. And I can afford to tell you that one of the reasons I decided not to be in the forefront of partisanship anymore was that the election that the party grandees begged me to contest in, I didn't like how it was managed, because I knew some of them used it as an opportunity to line their pockets.
Where?
In the United Kingdom.
In the United Kingdom. Okay.
St. Mary's was London Borough of Greenwich, then now Royal Borough of Greenwich. There is no perfect liberal democracy. Trump just was defeated as the president of America in numerical terms. Hillary Clinton got almost 5 million votes more than he did. but because they had a peculiar constitutional order. So the only extent to which I will agree with my brother here is that the essence of or the vibrancy of any democratic dispensation should be sourced to the autochthony of the constitution. The people must own it.
So you are in agreement with
that is the fundamental agreement. But there is no perfect liberal democracy, because liberal democracy tend to easily accommodate a very bad principle of politics or management, which is called the iron rule of politics. You will discover that if we say in this studio, all of us must have these rights, before you know it, as a result of existential demands, we will gradually be letting one or two take precedence in decision making. And the bad aspect of it in this part of the world, like he rightly accentuated, the bad aspect is that we are graduating even the civil rule we have into plutocracy. You know, I've said it a number of times on your program here, that what we have now is no longer democracy. So now that takes me to the question you've asked me about inclusiveness or inclusivity. It is practically impossible for inclusiveness to be robust, organically robust, in an environment where the chief criterion that defines your role is factored to money, because this is still a largely impoverished society. And that is why, you know, the Yorubas have a rich proverb. I usually tell young entrepreneurs that I mentor, they say,
tell our viewers from the far north.
I like that. You want me to speak in Hausa?
No, speak English. Speak English.
Translation. This is just a translation. A smoked dog meat could be very, very delicious. But before you finish smoking the dog meat, you must have something to eat. That is why some of us, to complement what people like himself are doing in the political area, that is why some of us are emphasizing social entrepreneurialism, to handle people out of poverty first. Teach people, let them know through demonstrable projects and programs that you are first of all the liberator of yourself, because political class anywhere in the world always live in utopia relative to the reality of the people. Look at many of the prominent politicians now, especially those holding political offices, from local government chairman to governors to president. Do you think they are afflicted with the same realities that an average Nigerian is afflicted with? If you want to buy petrol now, you will think about, okay, I have this much amount in my pocket, okay, let me buy 20 liters. But somebody does not even know how his car is fueled, does not even know how the power that is consistent in his house. So I will agree to the extent that we need people like this to topple the predatory that they enjoy at the top. But it's not easy, because even the third force movement that we are talking about, I was talking to a young man yesterday who says, what do you think about it? I said it may not be Obi that will deliver the third force movement, but if Obi could gain anything, say from 1 million and above, because I was in the UK, I was in Germany when it was only Conservative and Labour, CDU and SPD. But now the present German government is constituted by 3 major parties. That is why it's called the Jamaican Coalition. And if we are systematic about it, if people are persistent, and we need it more in Nigeria because there's a fundamental dystopia in how we are functioning together. And that is how we are always in crisis.
So much loaded in that submission. You actually hinged your argument on the constitution that was foisted on us, that the constitution is at the root of the problems that we currently have. Let's look at the issue of people say dividends of democracy should also be one of the reasons why we are celebrating. But the dividends of democracy is not going round as alleged by Nigerians. So it is one of the reasons why they said we are not in democracy yet. But let's look at June 12, 1993. You are celebrating that election till tomorrow. Now, it was a Muslim ticket. And the Nigerians forgot about religion, forgot about ethnicity, forgot about every other those primordial sentiments, and voted for their choice. Why are we now mandating, as we speak, so to speak, the candidates? They must. It is mandatory for them to match, to balance. It must be Christian Muslim, must be Muslim Christian, and all that. Have we forgotten those ideals that you stand for here today?
No, not at all. Nigeria is a huge diversity, and so we must balance things. In Nigeria, we must be inclusive. You can't run a Christian ticket in Nigeria because you don't have that foundation. You don't have a nation yet. You don't have a nation. You still have a diverse country. We are trying to create a nation out of Nigeria.
If we could achieve it 29 years ago.
What we achieved was a vote against the military, in spite of all the odds. It was not essential, and the fact that the manifesto and program of Agui was very inspiring. And Abiola himself, his track record was quite inspiring. So you had two things going for June 12 election. You have the desire, overwhelming desire, to vote out the military, to end military rule at all cost. Then you have the inspiration, given by MK Abiola track record in trying to fund university, fund sport, fund this, he could have even been richer than the country at that time because he made enough, and it's also giving back. The fact that it was a philanthropy of excellence at that time, and so those are the two things that work for that Muslim ticket. It will never happen to unite Nigeria anymore, because what are the issues now? The issues now is insecurity, corruption, even within the so-called democratic governance. So those are the issues.
Are we retrogressive or progressive from your submission?
We have retrogressed so much.
Now, if we could be so much united 29 years ago,
we are united against the military.
Happen.
You are united against the military. You want military at all costs. So you can do anything. That let's just choose anything. And that, well, inspiring enough is this man, MK Abiola, with his background track record, what we have seen him done as a private person. So it won't matter, because these people have created this process again to make it fail or to flop. So we Nigerians are resolved to go and vote MK Abiola just to check the military out, even when it was Muslim ticket. We will deal with that later, but let the military be out. That was what worked for June 12 at that point. And the other thing was that MK Abiola was a fantastic, generous person. And so we have his track record. He's a bridge builder. He has done so much even in the north than the south in terms of touching their life in development. And look at sports, look at all the universities. Was it 1 million then or 5 million? 1 million was very huge then. giving each of the best. So when you see a man like that, you want to, even with the flaws or the minus in that ticket, it wasn't the Muslim ticket. It was MK Abiola and the military. So this time around, I don't think we will try it with the kind of division we have in the country. You can't afford to try, because already you have what is supposed to be called democratic governance, and you want to force it, it can cause problem. And nobody who runs that can be sure it's going to win. You can't win on Muslim or Christian ticket. For instance, if Obi takes another person from Yoruba land as vice president, what would you think will happen? If Peter Obi takes somebody from Southwest as vice president, take me for instance, and say I'm vice presidential candidate, you know that who will I say, so these people will think that's about South. Just as an Atiku takes another Muslim from Southwest, you know, it's ruined there, because the Christian vote, the Christian voter will say, these things are real. They say, and you have Christian mobilizing for PVC in their churches now. You know?
Okay.
So you can't have it. It's better to have an inclusive so that we can have stability. There is no need to even contemplate it. There is no, because Nigeria is not one. We are not one. We are not one.
I disagree that we are
not one. If we are one,
now,
wait, you can disagree. If we are one, would there be Fulani Southern problem? You're watching Fulani. We are not one. It's clear that we are not one. The nation is divided. People are in Igbo land. People are talking about Biafra. In Yoruba land, we are talking of Yoruba nation. Why are we saying it? In some Yoruba people are saying they want to. So where is the unity?
All right, thank you. Where is the unity? Now, the journey to nationhood, that's about 60-something years ago that we began. 62 or how many years after now? We're still a far cry from our destination. He said we have not got there yet. We will get there. How long would it take us to get there? When people like you come on air, we hear issues like competence, track record, and all that. He mentioned track record too, in respect of the late MPO. Now,
and competence.
Why are those ideas not our focus today? That we're so much focused on where is he from, what type of religion does he practice, and all that? Are we that divided that we cannot look at those competencies and the track record any longer?
The truth is that we are very divided. Very, very, because of the quality of the leaders we have had in succession in recent times. Some of the things that ought not to matter now.
So it doesn't matter whether the person will get there and just like you said, it would amount to failure, whether he's from my type or not. Are you more protected by Yoruba man than somebody who would deliver better? I mean, have you considered those things?
President Muhammadu Buhari unfortunately allowed so many things to degenerate to the level of distrust. However, if I were to be one of Bola Ahmed, the only person that has the dilemma of balancing to resolve now is Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Let's be very honest with ourselves. Amongst the three major candidates, let's even be generous and say amongst the four major parties, two being the very major, that's PDP and APC. However, if I was one of the strategists, I tell him to go for a northern Muslim from the northeast. I tell him, go and sit down before a Zulu and convince him. There are some opportunistic characters in the northwest who are juggling and trying to rationalize what they've done regarding how they rubbished that phenomenon in their own sub-polity. But you know what? At this juncture, given the major challenges facing Nigeria, there are two elements that your vice presidential candidate must help you address. Competence is still important, but the fact that the major problem afflicting most parts of Nigeria now, which tried to rear its ugly head even in the southwest, that is seemingly geographically and because of our terrain somewhat protected from the madness, and because of the level of our civilization and the peculiar historical fact that in most southwestern families, I know you are a prominent Muslim leader, but I know in your family there must be a Christian.
Yeah.
My brother, the same in my family. That is a unique advantage that the Yorubas are. Well, sometimes when I tell people that Islam came to Yoruba land before it got to Sokoto, almost 200 years. Some of the generals of Ibadan that resisted the influx and the invasion of the Fulanis with Ogunjalumi in 1887. Some of them had Muslim marabouts, Islamic marabouts in their houses. Balogun Ajayi Ogboriefo, the prominent generals like that, who stopped them? They had Muslim marabouts in. So for us, religion is not a kill-all phenomenon. It's just a means of engaging with the. So I'm sitting there now thinking, if some people bounce Dogara, I'm not a Tinubu's strategic team, but if he picks a character like Dogara, he's going to make his presidential aspiration, presidential destiny pedestrian. And the two are watching.
Of course, Lalong was also mentioned, and then Babachalawa is also being touted.
I finished.
Finished. Now, you spoke about MQ Abiola, still referring to June 12, 1993. Why is it that for you, 29 years after, amongst the presidential candidates, we have 18 of them, and they have concluded their primaries and submitted the names of their candidates to 9 years. Now, why is that 29 years after, from your own submission, you don't seem to agree that we have any candidate has a national appeal in the same equation as that of MQ Abiola? That his character, his pedigree, his philanthropy and all that won him the election. Now, do you not think amongst the candidates we have people that can also deliver based on their trajectory?
Yes, there are people. 3, 4. There are people who could deliver, but the association matters. And I said it earlier today. The best of a feather or the same feather.
Best of
feather or the same feather, whichever we flock together.
Okay.
So when we see your association like PDP share the money, or you see the very scandalous cartel of cabals, you begin to know that it's not about the individual. Buhari, we sold Buhari, we brought him to Southwest, to Tinubu. We brought him through Chief Enao of Blessed Memory, and he pretended to us to be accepting our ideology and what we're to bring out from the Monaco Constitution. Joined us, did everything, and none of it was touched. So that's a systemic problem. Even when he has good intention don't translate to good governance. Good intention. You may be a good person, as Banji Busari. Enter into a system that is corrupt, you will be corrupted, and you become a bad person. And that's why we must change the system in Nigeria and enter into a party that is also corrupt, or people with corrupt associates. You will have. Buhari could not do anything. See what is happening. Corrupt people move from PDP to APC, and their sins are forgiven. That's not the kind of party or movement we want to do. We started the movement. That's not the kind of thing. You offend the nation in one party and immediately you join and you are forgiven. Or is it that you are using the FC to just hunt people to join you? Something must be wrong. And therefore, it's not, most of the individuals are like, well, although it was the Bible who said there won't be a good person. There is no, even Jesus said, why do you call me good? He said, there is no good man on earth. So that is why we must build a system. And when people talk about restructuring, that is what involves that. Let's restructure. Human being will be 40. Human being, there will be frailty. Human being cannot be perfect. You put me in a system which makes me absolutely powerful. I will rub Christ church on you. I will say, put branches, put a here. Because you have created a system for me to think that I am God. And that is this kind of system you have in Nigeria, where the president is the most powerful on earth and can turn a woman to a man under the Nigerian constitution. Humongous executive power under Section 5. Therefore, you must look at the parties now. It's not that they are not good. MK Abiola's case, the manifesto was quite good. And it was essentially a fight. The military must go. Then we'll be able to restructure the system. That was the agenda of the, okay, let's just get Babangida out. Maradona dribbling everybody, they are banning them. Okay, let us now. Even those that were bound, like Shehu Yaradua and co, they still say, okay, Shifala, all of them. They say, we must get this man out. That was what worked for the June 12. It was a vote for democracy or civil rule, so to say. It was a vote for civil rule. And let me tell you, the processes leading to that was one of the best processes. Leading to the 1987 Constituent Assembly. Elect zero-party election to Constituent Assembly. The Constituent Assembly debated constitution and came out with something, one of the best given to us. But again, Babangida, two errors, apart from the annulment, also doctored and re-edited the 1989 constitution that is yet to see the light of the day. That constitution has not been mentioned. It was not even used one day. There was, or there is, a 1989 constitution. One of the best, because leading to a constitution, a correct popular constitution or popular democracy, is the transition. And Babangida was right to that extent. Eggers, brilliant guys, Soyinka, Oyobare, Bolaji Akiye, all of them, Humphrey Wosu, Eggers, he brought everybody together. See the processes, constitutional debates, with every manual political bureau, just Cookie, Samuel Cookie, all of them. Look at robust system, better than what you have under Buhari. What Babangida did in terms of processes leading in that transition, deep, profound, very well done, but two fundamental errors. Annulment of the people's mandate on June 12th, which was annulment of democracy, and the second was doctoring to circumvent the constitutional provision by the Armed Forces Ruling Council. They sat on that 1989 constitution and changed certain things. It is not done. It is not done in making a constitution. No government has the right to doctor a people's resolution of a constituent assembly.
Thank you very much. President Muhammadu Buhari in his speech yesterday said one of the things he hails, the new development that he's happy about, is that all the parties have gone on their campaign, and those campaigns have been issue-based. Are you really impressed?
Which issue?
Issue-based. He said the parties are focusing on issues rather than on personalities or other sentiments. So are you really impressed with the issues that have been brought up by this
political class?
Yes.
These two major political parties?
No, we are not talking about two. We are talking about 18.
Look, the processing through which the parties choose their their presidential candidates
Of course.
to the extent to which INEC was like quote unquote forced to defer to the ruling party. Does that speak well of democracy? You gave a deadline. All the parties, even when they said they didn't like it, were supposed to be calibrating their activities to work with the deadline. Then one of the two major parties started its own program. Then you gave a waiver, and the waiver was such that it was obvious that if you did not give the waiver, the ruling party was almost not meeting. Is that fairness? Is that how to establish fairness?
Oh, that's on one hand. We are talking about issues that the candidates brought up.
Within the PDP and the APC, the two major candidates that emerged, did they emerge intimating the members of their party with their profound understanding of their manifestos or what they want to do for Nigeria, or did they emerge as a result of what many people are now
Dollarization.
There's even a phraseology for it now, there's a terminology for it. So don't let's delude ourselves. We are supposed to be public intellectuals. We cannot take hook, line, and sinker what politicos, when Americans want to be disdainful of politicians, they call them politicos. What politicos want to...
But are you impressed by the fact that following the emergence of some candidates, the opponents or the opposition parties congratulated them? Is that a development you want to comment?
It has always happened, because where would those opponents even go to? Do they have many choices?
And Atiku congratulating Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Asiwaju Bola Ahmed congratulating Atiku.
Okay, let's say that's a positive development. But how would that transform the life of a homeless person sleeping under the bridge, under the Third Mainland Bridge? We need policies that will make that person wake up one day and say, okay, I really have leaders speaking to this objective. So if I just improve on my total today and carry maybe 2 more load, and I put this extra money to this program, the government is ready to match me so that I will ultimately leave this. Because okay, if you believe it's issue-based, let's give it to you.
That I'm seeking your opinion. But then, in addition to that, are you also impressed by the youth's this is sudden interest in the voter registration, that many of them are trooping out to ensure that they get a voter?
I hope the two main parties realize that many of the groundswell enthusiasm of the youths now to go get their permanent voters card is much more related to the frustration they feel in the two main parties, especially the Oshibajo people in APC wanting now to line up behind the obedient call. I hope they don't discountenance it, because if they could get La République en Marche phenomenon suddenly spilling over them. I am not delusional enough, or I am not delusional enough to want to believe that the third force party may be victorious on this occasion, but it could mess up the electoral topography in such a way that the person who probably is consistently believing that he is going to win may not be the winner as a result of the disruption.
President Muhammadu Buhari has also assured that before he leaves, that in fact the process will be transparent, and he would ensure free, fair, credible elections, putting in place all the right structures, and supporting INEC to give us a very good election that will be applauded by all. Do you believe in that? particularly against the background of increased insecurity in the land. Don't forget what the governor of Kaduna State said recently, that the 2023 elections is threatened because of the occupation of some local government by the sect of the Boko Haram. So what's your view about what President said yesterday? Do you really have the faith that he has the capability to deliver free, fair, and credible elections, devoid of crisis?
No, are they in control of anything? Is he in control of anything himself? Who are the people ruling? You know, it would have been good if those who started with him control our road. He almost even took some, I said maybe there for Ashwaju Bola Ahmed to win. Start someone who almost foisted him. So I don't think that we can rely on anything said by the government, because they are also not in control of those areas. Boko Haram are true. You know, so to believe we give transparent, it's all the it's not something that we want to rely on. For me, because they have not proven that they are in charge. They have not proven.
Now the president, commander-in-chief of the armed forces,
they pay ransom. Government pay ransom to catch bandits. They pay ransom. And the ruling class pay ransom. The political pay ransom in billions now to bandits. So what give you peaceful and where is that one coming from? It will be for the bandits to every day now terrorizing the country, bandits, and government pay. Government negotiate with criminals, terrorists. See everywhere. They are rounding up people in Southwest, whereas the way it's coming.
God
they are
forbid.
not, amen. They are showing their strength. That even Southwest. So election itself is in doubt. That you have election by itself is in doubt, and that's why some people are also canvassing that maybe we deal with our constitutional, system, deal with it quickly, so that we can foist a unity that can fight against terrorism. Because if we don't have that formidable united front, and what can unify us is a constitutional process that is inclusive, transparent, and popular, where everybody can come in and say, there is an agreement. Okay, this is for the first time, we Nigerian people have this constitutional agreement. This is our agreement of how we want to coexist peacefully, even if it is faulty. He was talking about imperfection of liberal democracy. Even if it is imperfect, if it is agreed, so be it. Everybody can live with it, can own it, and say, well, the imperfection is from us, we did it. But not to continue to force and
without disagreeing with you, it sounds utopian, because we are in a transition period.
No, there's nothing. It can happen. It can happen. Realistic. It can happen because nothing.
Are you going back to what Chief Abebe last said?
No, yes, because nothing.
Oh, you are in agreement with him?
No, what he's saying is, if Nigeria agrees, you can do a plebiscite on that. If Nigerians agree, Nigerians should be made to rule their country. It is only in Nigeria that the sovereign powers of the people are taken away and given to the elected through Section 8 and Section 9 of 1999 military constitution. It's not done anywhere. The people can say, okay, on this matter, should we go to pool? Shouldn't we go? We are in dilemma. Can we go? Yes. Can we?
The Chile example.
Yes. Can we go to pool and consider what do we do? And then the people go and vote and say, how do we do it? Because the people want us to even settle our national question before we go to pool. The people have the right to do that. No, it's not that. It's not that to say
tight
yes now.
In the midst of all this,
the people are the owners of the country. They can say, they can tell you, please, we want. It's a doctrine of necessity, but it must be democratically done. But it's just that Nigeria, everything is manipulated. The moment you try it, you see some element trying to see whether they can manipulate. But that is the right thing to do.
It's the right
to allow the people to decide whether they want to go to pool. That's whether that is the priority, that is urgent, or that we want to take care of internal national crisis, insecurity, and the humongous corruption going on, so that it doesn't collapse. It ends up in civil war.
All right. Ekiti, it's like we're almost done. Our time is almost up. But Ekiti election is next Saturday. It's going to be a show of strength among all the political parties. Ekiti is more or less the new bride. Everybody wants to get the ownership of the
Not
state.
amongst all the political parties. That's very.
Now, what are the chances of the?
Let me save you the.
What are the chances of the ruling party retaining power?
This gubernatorial election in Ekiti is a proxy election. There are two characters who need to establish their political relevance. One, to defend the seeming invincibility, is electoral invincibility, Fayose. The other one, Kayode Fayemi, to know whether he has a future politically in Ekiti. For me, any other grammar you hear people blow yesterday, many of them.
You are not even mentioning SDP, Engineer Segoni.
Unfortunately, Egbon, he has run himself into the cul-de-sac of what money does. This is a plutocracy. Elections are not cheap.
Clearly.
Elections are not cheap in Nigeria.
The cost of winning election in Nigeria is gargantuan. The cost of winning election, that's another one. And it determines the cost of governance.
If the people of Ekiti decide to own back or to get back their state from whoever, is it that anybody be in their way?
Well, no, but you see, inducement, influence, and whatever, nobody can be in their way. And I believe in the people. If the people are resolved, if they can be resolved to say, this is what. But then, where is the example? What do you have in to? Because it's not about even Nigeria in the first thing. If it is Nigeria now, we know that then the Nigerian constitution runs the whole place, and that who is going to give us a new constitution? For instance, the third force is looking for a new structure, a new constitution, and that is defining the kind of
founding fathers gave the federating units their own peculiar constitution,
federal constitution, state constitution. They must have it, and that is why I tell you we are running a military centralized military plutocracy now, not even democracy, because you don't have state constitution. And what does that? That means that if you have state constitution within the state, again, the state is run democratically. It's not run from the emperor called governor.
Thank you very much for your submission. I really, really appreciate your time and your submission of this program. That's Honorable Olawale Okuniyi, convener June 12 movement. Thank you very much. I wish you a very pleasant holiday. I'm sure when you leave here, you're going home to spend the day with your family.
I have no rest.
You have no rest. God will provide the rest. I need to sincerely thank you, sir, for your time. I can't thank you enough. That's Mr. Agbola Oba. That's our partner on this program. Thank you so much for your support. That's our package today. We'll be seeing you again on Wednesday. Thank you. Bye-bye. My name remains Banji Busari.